So at this point, I would like to throw some questions to Kyle. I want Kyle and his team to help us understand better what the IELTS is all about. I want you to help us explain a few things about the IELTS, how it works, and the different sections involved with the IELTS, the types of IELTS, the band score required, the examiner style, the results, wait time, the common mistakes, the common performances. So just give us a rundown of what the IELTS is all about and what we should expect. So welcome, Kyle. Over to you.
Thank you. So hello, everybody. So if you are joining us live from Nigeria, I mean, this is amazing. So Daniela and I work together in the IELTS world, I guess, or the IELTS training world. And we work with partners all over the world, basically. So we are one of the leading IELTS preparation companies. On my side, just as Kenny said, I mean, we've been working together for quite a few years now. You mentioned I've got decades of experience, and I think that's the case now. I think I'm there with decades already. And I love what I do. I think we're really good at it. We get results. And as Kenny said, I mean, this is my whole background. So I really am looking forward to working with all of you, helping you get those IELTS results you need, because just as Kenny mentioned, it's the key for you to come here and become Canadian. I was thinking of well, I've been really looking forward to talking to everybody in Nigeria today, and I was walking to the office here because it's 10 in the morning here. And it's freezing cold outside, right? It's minus 15 today, I think, out here. And we're helping you take all these steps to come to Canada. And once you're here, I mean, it's pretty exciting. And you are going to have cold days like this, but you know what? I think just having that Canadian life and the Nigerians that we've helped reach those IELTS goals who are here in Canada now, I mean, I know that they've got incredible lives for to Kenny and the whole team at Maple. I mean, we go through your social media quite a bit. I think it's amazing. There's always pictures of happy people here in Canada. And so for all of you, I mean, the first lesson in IELTS is listen to Kenny and her team, because they know what they're talking about. If they tell you you need a certain score, that's the score you need. So to go through some of the questions and things like that you asked to Kenny, I'm just going to go through them one by one. And then, of course, feel free to ask any follow-up questions or anything like that. And of course, for the people who are joining us here, I've got my eye on the chat box over there. If you have anything, really anything about IELTS, you be sure to let me know, even if it's a question about how IELTS relates to immigration or academic purposes. Kenny will jump in and help you with that. So we'll start from the beginning. Now for IELTS, it is an English exam, basically. It gets way more complex than that when you're kind of in the IELTS world like me, I guess. But for all of you, if you're going to immigrate to Canada, it's mandatory. So it's either the IELTS or the CELPIP. So there's two exams that are used for immigration. For academic purposes, there's a few different exams that are used. IELTS is by far the most widely accepted, the most widely used. So I know for a lot of our Nigerian clients who we help pass the IELTS, I mean, get the score that they need. I love working with Nigerians. I think it is one of my favorite client types, just because I haven't been to Nigeria yet, but for all the Nigerians we work with, people have such a beautiful foundation of English to work with already. So our side becomes that much easier, because what we do is we combine your foundation of English knowledge with understanding the exam, understanding the examiners, and of course, understanding what the examiners are looking for. And then we combine those two elements together, because we want you to really show that foundation of English knowledge to the examiners so that they can give you the score that you deserve. It's not enough to just go into the exam. And we get this quite often, actually, where a native speaker even will go into the exam and not get a perfect score or even get a high score just because they don't know what the examiners are looking for. They don't know what they need to do. And that is all because of a lack of preparation. So number one tip for IELTS, be prepared. You are almost certainly going to need the exam anyways. When you score as high as possible, well, Kenny's going to have a big smile because that opens up the doors for you to go to different universities in Canada, different colleges, maybe even an immigration option as well. So I'll pass it over to you, Kenny. Actually, it's a really, really important element for people to understand is that IELTS is the key for everything, really. And can you comment on that just a little bit about how a higher IELTS score opens up the doors for more immigration programs and more academic programs?
Oh yes, thanks, Kyle. So I've had experiences with clients who sometimes people just feel, I've been schooled in English all my life. In Nigeria, English is our official language. And so when you tell clients that they need to take the IELTS exam seriously, or that they need to have the IELTS to add to their application for study permit, they feel like, why do I need it? I've been schooled in English and I speak English and that's my native language more or less. And so they don't either practice, they don't read up, they don't prepare for the exams. And then they go into the exams and they find that they don't score very high. And we know for sure that if you have a high IELTS score for students, the requirement from the Immigration Canada is for you to have at least a 6. And they are not insisting on whether it should be academic or general. So that even makes it easy. You can do any one that you're comfortable with. But they are saying a minimum of a 6 is what they want. But we know for sure that if you have an 8 in each of the bands or a 7, that will make your application much more stronger. It will make your claim to wanting to go and study in Canada as a bona fide student your case much stronger. So we always encourage students to look at not just doing the IELTS, but preparing very well for it, because we know it can make a difference between getting an approval for your study permit application or not getting. When it comes to applying as for permanent residence, it's even more critical because the permanent residence application is a points-based system, and the applicants put their profile in a pool, and so they are competing with others who also want to go to Canada. And we know that from time to time they do draws, and then they pick those candidates in the pool who have very good points, who are more competitive. And so we encourage our clients to ensure that they study very hard for the exams. And one thing that helps us is the training package that is provided by English Exam Prep, because it really helps our candidates to work hard to making sure that they are prepared for that exam and they score very high marks. So if they score very high marks, it can make a difference between, it can make up to give you 50 extra points just by pushing your scores one notch up. A 0.5 or a 0.1 can make a whole difference between whether you get invited to apply or you just sit in the pool and you never get an invitation. So we cannot overemphasize the need for applicants to really take the IELTS exam very, very seriously.
Perfect. So that's top tips for IELTS, really. There's a lot, but number one is, just as Tukeni said, take the exam seriously. Even if you took English exams in university, or if you took, even if you took your diploma in English, or if you've worked in an English-speaking country, and that kind of thing, it's amazing. And I love it when people come to me and they say, hey, I worked in England for a couple of years, in Nigeria for a couple of years, in South Africa, Canada, anywhere, right? Because for us, it shows you have a really strong English foundation to work with. And again, what we do is combine that English knowledge with understanding what the examiners are looking for, and of course, strategies to implement right away. So I'll carry on with talking about IELTS a little bit and the lessons that we offer. So for IELTS, there's two types of IELTS. So there's general and academic. Now, Tukeni mentioned that it depends on the program, of course, but for some students, you might have an option between the two even, right? So if you need a band 6 in IELTS and it doesn't specify which IELTS exam you need to take, well, amazing. General it's not easier. It just measures a couple of different things. And academic is simply more formal, I don't want to say more academic, but it is used to measure your ability to integrate into in this case, a Canadian university. Meanwhile, general is, of course, measuring your ability to function in an English-speaking environment in a country like Canada here. So the difference between the two exams is not that much, actually. So listening will be the exact same thing between general and academic. Your exam, so when I say the IELTS exam, we're referring to listening, reading, writing, speaking. Listening is usually begins the day, actually, on exam day. And you will be in a room with some other candidates. These days, everyone wears masks all the time. The security has always been really strict for IELTS anyways. But all the centers that I work with, everyone's taking your health very seriously. And you're going to, listen to 3 or 4 different, it can be an interview, it can be a monologue from a person, and you're going to answer 40 questions on this. So it takes an hour to do, or nearly an hour actually. And then you're going to move on to reading. So your listening will be, it's actually about, I said an hour, but it's an hour from the time you walk into the room until the end of it, really. So the listening itself is actually 40 minutes. But by the time you go through security, all that kind of stuff, and you're sitting in the room, it winds up being about an hour. Now, you're not going to leave the room or anything like that to go take the next portion of the exam. It's going to be the reading exam. You're going to be in the same spot, same everything. And then you're going to look through different texts. Now, there is a difference between general and academic for reading. The question types are the same. The strategies are the same. The reading content, though, is different. So to keep it simple, I like to equate it to reading a bit more of a scientific type of article. So if you read National Geographic, for example, or if you are if you're in academia, or if you went to university and you remember kind of reading those articles, those scientific type of articles from your university, they can be kind of like that. And then you're going to answer 40 questions again. For general, it's more based on what I would call newspaper types of articles. So it's more kind of more reading content that you would see on a daily basis in another country. So it could be like an instructions manual. It can be something from a newspaper, for example. And that's what you're being tested on in the general exam. So the difference between the two, really, in terms of content, the academic is a bit more formal, a bit more kind of university style. Meanwhile, general is, I don't want to say it's not as formal, because it's still very formal, but it is geared, of course, more towards reading that you do on a daily basis while living in Canada, US, Australia, English-speaking countries like that. Then you move on to writing. Now, I'll ask you a question. Which element of the exam do you think is most difficult? So it can be for you personally, or it can be worldwide, because it's actually the same. It's often the same answer, actually. So worldwide, which element of the exam, is it speaking, listening, writing, or reading, do people find to be the most difficult, and do people generally score lower on? And I'll wait for an answer or two in the chat here. Or if you're maybe watching the video later on, you can think of the answer. Somebody wrote writing. And I'll see if there's anything else coming in. Writing, writing, writing. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly it. Writing is by far the most difficult element of the exam. Worldwide, statistically, it's scored lower. Now, the reason why, there's a lot of reasons why actually, but I'll ask you again, tell me why. Why do you think writing is scored lower? You can let me know in the chat here. So I know for everybody, everyone writes emails every day. You text your friends, you're writing in the chat right now even. Why is it worldwide really? From country to country, I know for Nigeria, a lot of people speak English already, but it's actually the same trend in China, in other places as well, where writing is scored lower. So the reason why, I think some of the answers are coming in the chat here, the reason why is because it is so specific. So what the examiners are looking for is perfect. There's a great answer here from Praise in the chat here. There's a marking scheme that's strictly adhered to. You must follow a defined structure. Perfect. That's a perfect answer as well. Yeah, so that's exactly it. I mean, we get it all the time where we'll have I'm thinking of a client from a couple of years ago, a PhD from New York who got, I think, 8 in everything else, a 9 in speaking. Writing got a 6. And this is someone with a PhD who needed, who was working at McGill over here, actually at the university, teaching, right? Person only speaks English, is incredibly academic, obviously, writes academic reports all day, except the person did not understand the IELTS and what the IELTS examiners are looking for. So with the lessons that we do, we know this, right? And we see, I mean, I've been teaching IELTS for 10 years. I've got a pretty big background in IELTS. And I mean, we get results for our clients, basically. So the issue with a lot of our clients and with a lot of, I guess, you as well, you don't know it yet, but for all of you, if you're watching this, I mean, really pay attention to writing. In our lessons, half of the lessons actually are on writing. So we have 30 hours of lessons specifically dealing with writing. You don't have to work through the full 30 hours, right? You can work through a few of them, I guess. And then if you want us to assess your writing, it's part of what we do as well. But really take that writing seriously, because for a lot of people, they just don't know what the examiners are looking for. So they don't show the examiners what they need. And then they're surprised that they get a low score in writing, despite having, of course, an incredible foundation of English knowledge, despite writing a PhD thesis in English and that kind of thing, right? So really, really, really be careful of that. Fantastic comments as well. The structures of formal writing are different from informal writing. Perfect. That's exactly it. These days, even how often do you write with I have a pen here, it's a pencil in the exam, but I mean, how often do you write with a pen or pencil these days, like pencil and paper? It's not very common, right? So writing an essay in English with a pencil is kind of rare these days. And even using, I would say, formal academic type language is not all that common either, right? When you text your friends or something like that, it's sort of a different English that's used. So anyways, it has to be, even if you're taking the general exam, right, it still has to be very formal and I would say academic type of language that you're using. You have to know what the examiners are looking for. That whole marking scheme that somebody mentioned, It's a grid actually that examiners use. It's publicly available too. The public one is available. We can link it below later on. And really there's like 200 little things the examiners are looking for. And if you don't show them these things, you're limiting yourself to a certain score. Now with the general versus academic portion of the exam, so listening's the same, right? It's the exact same. Speaking is the exact same. Reading is a little bit different just in terms of content. Writing is very different. So for academic, that's actually I would say academic task 1 for writing is the most difficult portion of the exam for most people. So for academic, you're going to receive often it'll be like a bar chart or something like that, right? So some information anyways. And it might be about tourism to Canada from 2003 to 2021. And they'll have different numbers in there and that kind of thing, right? And your task is to describe that bar chart. Now, for people who don't really know what the examiners are looking for, you might just recite information in there, or you might say, well, the 2003 numbers were really high because of, you know, the Olympics or something like that from back then, right? Or that kind of thing, right? And that type of information would actually detract from your score. So when they say, I'll give you a big tip here. When they say describe the chart on there. Don't include other information, outside information, even if you are an expert in whatever they're talking about. So really, really, really describe it. Use very formal language, extended sentences, lots and lots of paraphrasing, include all the information as well. Now for general, the task is writing a letter. So every single time it's going to be write a letter. And that's for task 1. So it's 150 words, just like the academic one that I just described. And writing a letter would be something that you might see when you're living in, or a situation you might be in the US or Australia or something like that, where an example could be you're renting an apartment and the washing machine broke. So write a letter to your landlord and ask him to fix it and tell him what time you're available and thank him for his time. Now in real life, you don't really do that, right? Maybe you'd send, like for my landlord, for example, I'd send him a text or something like that. But the task, of course, it requires you to be very formal, very structured. You have to answer everything really, really, really clearly as well, and not fall into the little traps of IELTS. So that's task 1. Now, task 2 is in writing as well, and you have an hour to complete task 1 and task 2. So task 2 is, it can be some different things, but it can be a argumentative essay, for example. So task 1 is 150 words. Task 2 is 250 words minimum. So if you want to do 300, that's okay. If you want to do 500, that's okay too. But remember, you only have 1 hour and you can't detract from the topic, right? So for task 2, it could be something like some people prefer online learning, while others prefer to go to a classroom. What are the advantages and disadvantages of both? Okay, so something like that. And it might seem easy, right? It might seem easy for you, except it's a bit of a different style than you are used to, right? So anyways, that's what we really, really focus on is writing. I don't want you to be a candidate who gets, that's going to be the question for Tukenia after, actually will be candidates who get a band 7 in listening, band 7 in reading, or let's say band 8, even band for Nigerians. So let's say band 8 in listening, band 7.5 in reading, band 8 in speaking, and a band 5.5 or 6 in writing. I find it heartbreaking because it's so close. And Tukenia, I'm sure, finds it heartbreaking as well. So Tukenia, that's the question I'll pass back to you is, do people need a an average score. So can we have like an 8 in listening, 8 in reading, an 8 in speaking, and a 6 in writing? And it would equal a band, let's say a 7.5. Okay, so Kenny's going to, I guess, log back in here. And I'll tell you the answer, actually. So the answer is that you have to have the minimum score in everything, all right? So if an academic program says we need you to have a band 7 in everything, you need to have a band 7 in each element of the exam. If an academic or if an immigration program says you need to have a CLB 9, well, that correlates with different scores in IELTS, right? So it might be it's a band 8 in listening, 7 in everything else. And if you have a band 8 in listening and a 6.5 in writing, well, you are not going to reach that immigration goal, right? So maybe there's other immigration options that Kenny and the team at Maple would explore for you. But for a lot of people, I mean, it's so close to reaching your goals, but you missed 0.5. So that's why really preparing, working through our course is really, really, really going to help you, of course, reach your goal of immigration. Despite, even if you have a fantastic English foundation to work with, really focus on the course, work through everything, and then you get those results and you take those next steps to coming out here to Canada. Okay, so I'll move on to talk about speaking, the speaking exam. And then I'll pass it over to Kenny as well. So for the speaking exam, do you think it is difficult? And I'll tell you my experience while I'm waiting for some answers to come in here. So in speaking, I'll tell you the number one mistake, all right?
Okay.
I tell the story once in a while.
Sorry about that.
Perfect.
I got
That's fine.
sidetracked a little bit there.
Perfect, Kenny. So the question was, when people take the IELTS, all right? So if somebody comes to you and they say, hey, to Kenny, I've got my IELTS results, and I got a band 8 in listening, a band 8 in reading, a band 8 in speaking, and a band 6 in writing. How quickly does your smile turn into a frown?
Very quickly. Very quickly, because that would not maximize their scores, overall scores, when you have a band 6, even though 6 is the minimum that would make you eligible. But getting a 6 you would lose so many points in other areas. So that will make me immediately just say, oh, I'm sorry, this is not good enough. It is good, but it will not cut it. So we are looking at individual scores, not the overall band. So usually for those kind of clients, I try to persuade them to do the exam again. And this time to focus on that particular band that they have a problem with, but just to get everything else up as much as they can, but focus on that one and move that score up. So if we can have them do a 7 in all of them, and then the listening is very critical. They must score higher in the listening. So no lower than an 8 in the listening, then the smile will come back again when I see that.
Exactly. Well, I'm sure the smile is always there, but it's really heartbreaking. I mean, when somebody is so close to getting that score, right? And for all of you as well, I mean, you might not know, but when you have a meeting with Kenny, she's assessing your immigration as well as your academic goals, right? So if somebody we had a conversation before, that's why I can tell you this. So when you go see Kenny and you say you want to go study in Canada, well, on the back of Kenny's mind all the time is to see if you qualify for immigration, because, or I'll let Kenny explain why. I mean, if somebody qualifies for immigration, what strategy would you take in terms of them coming here to Canada?
Okay, so if they come to me and they want to go study, I would look at their qualification, their work experience, their age, and then I'll be able to say if they have a pathway towards getting applying for permanent residence right away instead of saying they want to go and study. And I would advise them, I would let them have the option. I would say these are the options, this is the cost implication, this is how it works. So then they make a decision. It's going to cost them some more time and some more money to go study. But if they already have work experience and they have uh, educational qualification and they have good IELTS, then immigration, direct permanent residence application will be a better option. So we let them know all the different options that are open to them. My staff who counsel them even for admission into schools also would refer them to me when if they think that this person might qualify for permanent residence. And so we look at that and we advise them accordingly.
Yeah, and it all depends on the IELTS score, really.
Yes,
These
the
days,
IELTS score.
people, and these days, I mean, like we talked about before, for the program that you were discussing, where people are sort of competing against each other, these days, the Canadian government has been accepting, generally speaking, people between 20 and 29 years old, master's degree, and a really high IELTS score. Those are people who have a really, really, really good chance of immigrating these days, right? It changes from time to time. Other times you need some Canadian work experience, etc. But if someone comes to Kenya and they qualify for immigration, perfect. I mean, come over to Canada. If you want to study later on, you'll be Canadian. So you'll pay Canadian fees. You'll pay what we pay because you'll be Canadian at that point, right? So again, I mean, the biggest lesson is take this exam seriously. To Kenya, I'm going to ask you about timelines. So I love it when people come to us first before taking the IELTS, because we get to teach them basically how to get the score that they need. Then they go take the exam, get that score they need, and they take those next steps with you. Versus, well, I still like it when they come to us and we still get to help them, right? But I think people sometimes waste time taking the exam once or twice, and then they don't get that score that they need. And then they finally come see us. They work through the lessons, and then they go get the score that they need. And then finally, you can help them take those next steps. But how much time does that add? How much time and money, I guess, does that add to their process when they're not ready for the IELTS exam and they take it basically and don't get the score that they need?
In terms of Naira, registering for the exam and taking that exam could cost them about 80,000 Naira. And if they have to do it, some have had to do it twice or thrice. I've heard of somebody who's done it like 5 times and still they didn't get the score that they wanted. And so it's time consuming, it's frustrating for them. But if they come to us first and we guide them through and say, look, take this training, it's very, very key to your success. And they take us seriously at the advice and they prepare very well and take the exam. It shortens their time. And the important thing is the time wasted could also add to their age, because with age is very key. So if you've spent easily, they could spend up to 6 months or 1 year just repeating this exam and not getting the score that they want. So, but if they come to us, they cut that time short and it will still be within their birth year. They are not adding any other year to it, especially if they're in their 30s, maybe early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. They are getting to the point where they will start losing some marks on age. So if they come to us directly and we talk to them, that really saves them on so many fronts at the same time. So that's why the IELTS getting it right from the get-go is very important.
Exactly. And for all of you, I'll let you know kind of the inside scoop here. So for Maple Education, so we don't, I mean, for English exam prep, we partner with, we don't really have that many partners. We're super, super selective with who we work with, right? So we get approached every day by tons and tons and tons of companies, schools, and everything like that who want to, yeah, I mean, use our system, right? And it's great. I mean, I love it that people realize how good we are at what we do. And we work with Maple Immigration. We work with a few kind of really large immigration companies, and we keep it very limited just because we want to have clients who are serious, right? So Maple is actually paying for a portion of your studies. So they've already invested in you. That's why the general public actually pays $500, so 500 Canadian. I'm not too sure how that works out for Nigerian funds, but that's what people pay for this program. And to Kenny and the team at Maple, they've paid actually for part of your studies already. So I think it shows a lot about Maple. If you look at, I was looking at some of the reviews the other day too, and somebody mentioned that to Kenny and the team, like they really care about you. And I agree. I mean, I think this shows that they really, really, really care about you, about your success. So I would say, I mean, they've invested in you already. So if you're ready to take the program, you're going to get a really deeply discounted price. And it is a fantastic program. So sometimes people will look around for a different IELTS program, and that's fine. I mean, shop around, right? And I don't think you'll really find a program like this, especially at the price that they're offering to you. And of course, I mean, now that you know me, if you think that will work well together in helping you reach your IELTS goals, I mean, I'm here for you. I'd love to help. And I think that's just about it. I mean, for Kenny, do you want to discuss the next steps for people watching the video? Because I think it's really, really, really impressive that you've invested, I mean, so much in people who aren't even your clients yet, I guess. You're already, I mean, covering a large portion of their fees. So can you discuss what happens next if somebody wants to register?
So if you want to register for the IELTS with us, you would need to send us an email. Obi, I will request Obi to, I hope Obi is there, but I can,
Yes, I'm there.
Can you just put the email address there, info@Maple Education? You send us an email and you let us know that you want to take the IELTS training, and we would send you information. Usually once you make the payment, which is heavily discounted, like Kyle said, we send you the link to start taking your lessons. So, and we support you all the way. In addition to that, we also can register you for the exam because we work with the authorized examiners here in Nigeria, the MOD. We can help register you for that exam. Our facility here is a center for writing the exam as well. So you could actually take the exam in our facility. And so the total package, we do the training, we have the training package, we register you for the exam, and you can take the exam in our build, in our hall. We have a hall where you can take the exam. So all of that together is all in one place. You get it all in one place. So Obi has sent the email address. So send us an email, and then we will give you all the information that you need. Thank you.
Perfect. And I mean, to start, I mean, 2021 is going to be pretty soon. So the lessons are all online. You have 60 days access. So within those 60 days, hey, work through the lessons, take your exam, take those next steps towards coming here to Canada, really. 2021 is just around the corner. It's a new year after all the craziness of 2020. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity to begin, I guess, a new life. All right, so we're just about at the end of the time here. If there's any other IELTS questions or anything like that, feel free to ask in the chat. On my side, I will, wish everybody a really Merry Christmas and a happy 2021. It's going to be, I think, an incredible year for the whole world, really, because, now that the vaccine has been invented, I think we're all going to live happy new lives, I guess, and change and everything like that. And for all of you, you're going to come here to Canada, so you've got a really big change coming up. I can tell you that, you probably know from the reviews and things like that from Maple's website, but I think a lot of Nigerians here really love the Canadian life. I think for Canadian people, we're really accepting, and we love people from everywhere and that kind of thing. So, for all of you, really, if you're not too sure about coming over here, well, I told you it's -15 today. Maybe that will scare some of you away, but the people are really warm. So I think you'll be fine when you come here. All right, so I'll say again, very happy New Year to everybody. 2021, stay healthy, stay happy, and I look forward to seeing you in Canada. And of course, we'll answer any questions in the chat here.
And then I'm going to add also that if you think of any other questions outside of this meeting, feel free to still send us an email, and we'll be happy to answer all of those questions. And I don't know, you might be joining this meeting from different parts of Nigeria, but we do have offices not just in Lagos. In Lagos, we have offices in 2 locations, on the mainland and on the island. And we have an office in Port Harcourt and also an office in Abuja. So no matter where you are, at least you can reach us. If you must, some people want to come into the office and actually see a person and talk to somebody. So, but if that's you, please, we have offices located close to where you are, and you'll be able to visit us. Otherwise, you can always reach us by email. You can reach us by calling, and usually when we reply our email, our phone numbers are there, or you can go to our website and you would also be able to get more information. We'll type in our website address there, and you can just reach out to us. We're here to help you all the way. Like we've said earlier, we are committed, we are dedicated to helping our Nigerian students realize their dream of going to study in Canada. And if you want to relocate to Canada, you want to have another experience, you just want a different life somewhere else, and you want to consider Canada, yeah, we're here to help you to realize that dream.
Okay, so there's actually a question in the chat. I believe this is from, sorry, let me just get that up. The question from Success. And the question is, I have less than 3 years work experience. I wanted to apply for the permanent residency. What IELTS would you advise I write?
Okay, for permanent residency, the IELTS required is the general IELTS. It's not the academic IELTS. For those who want to study, some schools want the academic, some would accept anyone. But for permanent residence applications, it's the general IELTS that is required.
And if you're thinking of the score that you need, the answer is simple: as high as possible. So that allows to Kenny and the team to really, really assess your immigration options.
Okay, and Gloria is asking, what about medical doctors? that looking for residency?
Oh yes, medical doctors can be allowed. There isn't any list of occupations when it comes to the express entry system. So there's no occupation that is bad. What they want you to have is have um, finished post-secondary education, and you have your certificate, and you have your educational credential assessment done. So you can, any occupation at all is allowed. Just that your work experience has to be within a certain level, what they call the National Occupation Classification level, like let's say a college graduate level position. So any occupation at all is okay for the express entry. Medical doctors are in there, but when they get to Canada, because it's a regulated profession, they would need to meet the requirements of the medical council before they can practice medicine. But as for applying to come to Canada as a doctor, yes, you can do that.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Tukunibasi. There's another question from, or I guess more of a follow-up from Success, and they said they asked because they were told they needed at least 3 years working experience for permanent residency. I'm 24 years old of age and already building on my work experience, but isn't up to 3 years yet. Please kindly throw more light on this.
Okay. Do you want me to take that, Kyle? Should
I was
I
just
go ahead with that?
I was just smiling because you're smiling because I know what you're going to say for this person. No, you go ahead. You go ahead to get.
No, you go ahead.
Sure. So to Kenny smiling, I'm smiling. I hope you're smiling because you've got a couple of really good elements right away. One is the age. So for a lot of immigration programs, you are within kind of the maximum points range for your age. It's usually between 20 and 29. And I mean, from on my side, for IELTS preparation and that kind of thing, often people will need a high IELTS score because you can't do anything about your age, right? If you're 38 or something like that, I mean, you can't get younger, right? You can't get younger and increase those points. So people focus on their language exam because you can increase your points with that language exam. But for you, I mean, you're in such a great spot of your life, I guess, because you're 24, you're right in the middle of that, of the maximum points for that. For the 3 years work experience, it depends on the program, of course. I mean, Tukeni and her team, there's, I think there are more than 80 programs right now for immigration for different provinces and things like that. So Tukeni and her team would really assess you and see where you kind of fit in for programs. For language exam, it depends a little bit on your education as well. I mean, if you say you have a master's degree, Tukeni is going to pop the champagne and things like that because you're going to be in a really, really good position, assuming you can get what we call a CLB 9 or higher in IELTS, which is an 8 in listening and a 7 in everything else, which is very doable if you have the right training. So I think you're really in a fantastic place right now. And for work experience, yeah, there's usually not a difference actually between 3 years work experience and 10 years work experience. So sometimes people have 7 years work experience. Well, you're assessed the same as somebody who has 3. Often 3 is the maximum. And then beyond that, it's just considered the same really as 3 years. So I think that, yeah, for shedding light on that, that's all I've got, I think. I think Tukeni agrees or has some extra information for you.
Well, I would say it's good to look at the whole picture. That's why we do a consultation. We sit down, we look at your profile, and then we look at all the possibilities. So it's not just picking one or two things, but we have to look at the whole thing. And then we look at all the other possible programs that we could take advantage of to improve your chances.
Okay, so yeah, there are a couple more questions. Let me just ask those. So so this is from Tokwe. Are there provinces that give preference to doctors and dentists for a provincial nomination?
Well, some provinces have occupations in demand where they're looking for people of some certain profession. And some provinces want you to have an offer, a job offer, even as a doctor or, to come to their province. They're looking for doctors, but they want them to have a job offer. And then the province would be happy to have you come to their province. So like I said, I mean, there's so many possibilities. So it's something that we need to sit down and really look at the whole thing. But again, the IELTS the IELTS score is key in all of this. Even if you have everything else, I mean, I've had some clients who have everything else, a master's, years of work experience, a very good profession, but they have a 5.5 in one of the bands. So we can't even do anything with that person. We can't even start. So the IELTS is very key, and that's why we've devoted all of this effort to making sure that in addition to everything else that people have, that they don't miss having a very strong IELTS result. And that's why Kyle and his team, they've devoted so much time to putting this together so that it make it very easy for people. They train you, they show you all the tips, all the little things that you take for granted that make a lot of difference in whether you get a high score or you fall below what you really want. So it's very important. That's why we are devoting this time to talk about the IELTS.
Okay, thank you so much. Here's a question from Gloria. Maybe you came in a bit late because I guess this was already answered. The medical doctors, what IELTS is advisable? Maybe we could just reiterate again.
Sure. So that's a tough one, actually. So, all right, you have two things to think of. One is your immigration, and then one is your transfer of your medical, I don't know, accreditation, I guess, to a Canadian standard. So for Tukeni and the team, they do one of these for you, right? So they will, of course, work on your immigration. And then once you're here, if your medical accreditation kind of transfers over, I know that's a different process. I don't really know too much about it, but I do know it from an IELTS perspective. So on the one side, you are going to need the IELTS for immigration. That's going to be the general exam for immigration. On the other side, so once you're here and once you are beginning those steps of transitioning your medical license to a Canadian standard, and like I said, I mean, I don't really know too much about that. I know it is quite a process. That would be academic. And I know the score for academic is pretty high for doctors. You can guess why, right? Because you need to, of course, really catch on to little tiny linguistic details from people you're speaking with, right? It's different from being maybe an accountant or something like that. who doesn't really deal with people as much as numbers. So for doctors here, I know that we have clients who really work hard with us to get a band 8.5 in some cases, which is almost a perfect score, because that's what they need for their medical license to transfer over from a different country. But they're here as permanent residents because they, or partly because they got a high score in the general IELTS as that first step.
Okay, I see a question here about applying for a study visa while outside Nigeria. Can I do that? How long after application do I have to be back to Nigeria for the process? So I assume this person is a Nigerian outside of Nigeria. You can apply if you have residence in that country. Not if you are a visitor in that country, no, you cannot. You have to come back to Nigeria to apply, especially if you have admission into a post-secondary institution. If you are going to study at post-secondary level, you need to come back to Nigeria. But otherwise, if you are a resident of that country, you can apply from there. And because it's an e-application anyways, so you can apply from anywhere as long as you have legal resident in that place. And you don't have to come back to Nigeria for the process. Once they are ready to put the visa on your passport, you can submit it to the nearest visa office, wherever you are. I hope that helps. That answers your question. Okay, I see you are talking about the registration for the IELTS exam. You said 75, I said 80. Okay, I actually, Mabel, who is our IELTS person, is not in this meeting today. So if maybe I got the figures wrong, maybe 75, because we have different packages. So if we're going to register you and then you are using our venue and then you are taking the training package, there are different costs to that. If you are breaking it down into just one aspect of it, there's a different cost to that. So if you can please send an email to info@mapleeducation.ca, Mabel will be happy to break it down for you or give you the cost of the total package. Okay. Unfortunately, Mabel is not with us here today because she's very busy collating. Visas are coming in, passports coming back to us. Students are planning to travel next week, so she's very busy with that. But she'll be able to respond to your email, please, if you can send us an email. Thank you.
Okay, everybody,
Okay.
I think that's about it for me. I have to get going as well because you guys are finished your day. We're just starting our day out here. So yeah, I mean, a big thank you to everybody. I think these questions are fantastic and you're really kind of connecting the dots, right? Between IELTS and your profession and immigration and studying in Canada and of course, coming here. So it's been a fantastic chat. Thanks for hosting us, to Kenny and Obi and the whole team. And I mean, I already wished Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, but I'll do it again because we're really excited. And I mean, for everyone, yeah, really take those steps seriously. The team at Maple is amazing, so really work well with them. And we will probably do this again in a few months, right, Kenny? So I know
yes, I was going to just say that we should do this again, because this is festive season. People are rushing up here and there, getting things done and preparing to travel, and sort of a bit distracted right now. So I think we should do this again regularly from time to time, and just get the word out to people about what we do and how we can help them. Definitely, yes.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So I guess we'll see everybody in 2021. If you're going to begin the IELTS lessons, remember they're online. It's by kind of interactive video. So you can start at 2 in the morning if you want, and spend 20 minutes a day, 1 hour a day, anything that you want, right? So yeah, I look forward to seeing everybody in there and helping you reach those goals. And I love that somebody wrote in the chat, see you in Canada soon. Yep, I hope so. Okay, so it's going to be a goodbye for me, everybody, and have a happy new year. To Kenny, any closing remarks here?
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you for all those questions that you sent. It shows that you're really interested and you're serious about going to Canada. Please send us some more questions. If you have any questions, visit us. We're here to help you. And at this point also, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And please stay safe, continue to wear your mask and sanitize and keep social distancing. And we all will meet again at the other side of 2021. Thank you, everyone.